guys, so I'm back with part 2 of being black and bipolar. My story, my way. So on part 1, I left off where I started to go to a psychologist. So I started going to the psychologist, and at first I thought, like, man, I'll have someone outside of my world to talk to about all of my problems. This will be great. So the first time I went in there, I just, was like getting to know her. She was getting to know me. We were just talking about real random stuff. And I told her how my doctor suspected that I could be bipolar, and that's why I was sent to her. And we just, talked. The second time I went it was good, but it was like she was starting to get to the nitty gritty, asking me how I cope with things and how I do in, happy times and bad times, I remember this one day in particular. I went to my therapist and I was over the moon happy. I was telling her about how I'm going to go home and paint a picture, which I did. How I'm going to reorganize my whole entire house, how I'm going to go to the gym, how I'm going to cook dinner, how I'm going to basically take over the world. And I said it at 100 miles a minute. She sat back looking at me like this. So once I realized that it wasn't a give and take conversation, I kind of stopped and I was like, what? She was like, you're manic right now. I said, well, hell, if this is what manic feels like, I love it. She said, a lot of people do like what mania feels like because it feels good. It feels like this euphoric high that nobody ever wants to come down from. She said, but the longer you're manic, the more susceptible you are to having a mental break. But she just kept saying it. I kind of tried to brush it off like, you know what? I'll take being manic. I'll take being happy. I don't care. This is what it feels like. I don't care. And she was like, you're manic. Call your psychiatrist. Call your psychiatrist. And I was like, I will. But I don't want to take any more medication because I was already taking medication for anxiety. And I didn't want to add on more medication because I thought that it was going to change my personality. I am a character. I'm a social butterfly. I am, very creative, and I didn't want that to change. So the whole hour she kept saying, you are manic. You need to call your psychiatrist. So I think maybe about the 7th time she said it, something hit me and broke me inside to where I was no longer happy. I began being sad. Like, but I don't want to be manic. I just want to be happy. But she kept saying, you're manic. And I said, well, why now? Like, just last week, I see you every week. Like, just last week, I was fine. She said, I believe you're going through what they call rapid cycling. It's where when you're bipolar, you have a cycle. You start off, what they call the middle of the road, and then you become manic. It's where you're going up and you're getting high and happy and all this stuff, and then you fall, which is the depression. She said that you're going through rapid cycling to where it happens more often. It could happen once a week, once a month, once a year. But for me, it's happening more often to where I'm going through those cycles more often. So tomorrow I could be depressed, or tomorrow I could be manic, or tomorrow I could be normal. It was just, a shot in the dark. So I said, okay. So that day I went to my car after the therapy session and I shed a few tears and I called the psychiatrist. So when I had my first appointment with the psychiatrist, side note, I already knew who the psychiatrist was because I delivered his mail before. So I knew who he was, but I chose his office outside of the city that I worked because I was embarrassed that my coworkers might see me at his office because, I was embarrassed. But anyway, I had my first appointment with him and he asked me what medication I was on. And I told him, and he asked me how it was working. And I said, it does really well for the anxiety, but it doesn't really help with the rapid, changes in mood. So he gave me a medication. And for the first 3 weeks, I felt freaking incredible. It felt like a mania high without the mania. I just felt good. I went to the gym. I cleaned my house. I had dinner with my kids at the dinner table. We talked. They weren't annoying me. Like, we were really, really good for 3 weeks. And then around that 4th week, I started to feel just like I was crashing. Like, every day it would get worse. Like, I'm not as happy. I'm still happy, but not as happy. I'm annoyed, but not super annoyed. I'm bothered, but not super bothered. I'm angry, but not super angry. Like, old feelings and old thoughts and old behaviors just came running back. So the 4th week approached, and I was back to normal, having a million thoughts a minute, saying a million words per minute, not sleeping, not eating, agitated, irritated, aggravated, irritated, whatever you can think of, I was that. So that particular day where I just felt like I was at my wit's end, I was fed up, I had text my pastor and I had text a friend of mine, and I just basically said how I was feeling. I'm fed up, I'm drowning, I feel like I'm suffocating. And the next day I had a doctor's appointment with my therapist. Actually, I take that back. I didn't have an appointment. Me and my kids had an appointment, because I find it very important that we go to family therapy as well as my own therapy, because for not for 32 years, but for their whole lives, they've been dealing with me. So I know I've probably caused some problems in their lives and their behaviors and the way they feel about themselves and me. So I want to make sure that we get all that handled so that they can be productive adults. So it was a day that we had family therapy, and I was sitting in the waiting room, and I just felt like the medication is no longer working. When we got back into the therapy room, the first thing my daughter said was, "I don't think her medicine is working anymore." And I just looked at her. I said, "You know what? You're absolutely right. I don't feel like it's working anymore either." And thankfully, I had an appointment with the psychiatrist the next day. But I was kind of disappointed, because I felt like I had come so far, and I felt what real and normal felt like, all for it to be gone again. So I was a little bothered and irritated by that. So I went back to my psychiatrist, and he prescribed me a new medication as well as upped a dose on another medication. And I feel now more level. I feel like the first time I was taking that medication, I was possibly in a mania phase, and the medicine was probably taking the edge off, but not doing as much as it should, because I was so happy. But now I just feel normal. Like, I'm happy. I'm not stressed out, even though there are things going wrong in my life. I'm doing okay. I got up today. I walked on the treadmill for an hour. I shot a couple videos tonight. So I'm feeling really good, but it's just learning how to know your signs of when things are no longer working for you anymore is what I'm having to learn. Because in this process, I have started second guessing myself, second guessing whether I know if my feelings are genuine or not. Like, I'm happy, but is this happy or is this mania? I'm kind of sad. Well, is this a justifiable amount of sadness, or are you depressed? Like, I question, if I don't care about something, do I not care for real? Or is it the medication that doesn't care? So, the here and now is 2 months out from, not even 2 months out from the diagnosis, and we're still trying to twerk and tweak my treatment program, but for the most part, I do feel good. Now, the reason why I said I was going to make this a 4-part series is because I wanted to discuss with you guys about how bipolar disorder has affected my finances, as well as how it affected my dating life. Maybe I'll make it a 5-part series because I also want to include how it's affected my children. And I do want to interview my daughter since she is the most like me and the most boisterous about things. But I just want to be as transparent and as open as I can as possible throughout this journey. It's difficult. And sorry if I'm saying a lot because I'm trying to stay focused. For me, staying on task and on topic has been a struggle, and I'm still working with that. When I go to work sometimes, I'm thinking about 57 things I could be doing at home. And when I'm talking, what I want to say is like say it's on a teleprompter, it's going by so fast that I'm speaking so fast so that I can get all the words out that I stumble on my words. Or sometimes I'm listening to a person speak, but I can already see where they're going and I end up finishing their sentences. And I know that could be irritating and aggravating, and I try not to do it, but I still find myself doing it. So I'm working on that. But just bear with me. This process is not easy. It's not fun. But it's not a secret either. We're going to talk about it, we're going to be about it, and we're going to support one another. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys for part 3.